Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're really happy to have you all here for today's session called CK-12 Simulations and PLIX Interactives. I'm Lindsay, a member of the CK-12 team, and I'll be moderating today's webinar. Before I introduce you to my coworkers, Katie and Sonia, who will be demonstrating our PLIX and simulations today, I'd like to make sure everyone is comfortable with the Zoom webinar platform. Right now, you guys should see a couple of different options on your Zoom screen. Hopefully you see one that says Q&A and one that says chat. During today's presentation, whenever you have a question about CK-12, please post it in the Q&A window. That just helps us to keep track of your questions and make sure that they get answered in a timely fashion. The chat window is where we would love for you guys to have a community conversation. Looks like a couple people have already greeted us. Hi from Argentina, hi from New Jersey, hello from Lebanon. If you could, just make sure when you're putting something in the chat window to change it to say all panelists and attendees. That makes sure that everybody can see what you're typing and that you're not just sending it to the CK-12 team. We don't anticipate any technical issues during our broadcast, but if you are having any trouble with your video or your sound, you can let us know that in either of the windows. Okay, we have created a resource page for this webinar session. You can find it at the link listed on the screen. It's a tinyurl.com/CK12 PLIX Sims. I think we're going to put that in the chat window here in a second, but this is a front and back resource page, and our intent is that this will be something that you can reference later on after this webinar, so you don't feel like you have to take frantic notes. This is something that you can just save to your desktop and reference it later. So no rush on that. We'll post that link again at the end of the webinar if you want to access it later on. Right now, why don't I go ahead and hand it off to Katie, who's going to be our first presenter today.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. And thank you to everyone who joined us today for today's session on CK-12 simulations and PLIX interactives. Today, we're going to highlight 3 different types of interactives. We'll scale up from the manipulatives found throughout our latest FlexBooks 2.0 to the diverse PLIX to the full portal simulations. So the interactives in FlexBooks 2.0 allow students to actively experiment with concepts within the book itself. We will highlight Science and Math PLIX, which stands for Play, Learn, Interact, Explore. This tool allows users to animate ideas through simple interactions. Also, we will be discussing our science simulations, which enable learners to discover the scientific principles that govern a real-world setting in a fun and interactive way. Before we get into the core content of the webinar, we would like to find out a little bit more about your familiarity with these interactives. You'll see a poll here in a few seconds that will prompt you to respond to a question. Okay, so here's the question. How familiar are you with CK-12 simulations and PLIX interactives? You can select all answer choices that apply to you. I'm new to them. I use PLIX occasionally. I use simulations occasionally. I use PLIX frequently. I use simulations frequently. I'll pause for a few seconds to let you finish answering this poll. Remember, please select all that apply to you.
And while we're paused for just a second, I do want to remind you guys in the chat window, please, again, if you want to introduce yourself, change it to say all panelists and attendees so everybody can see what you're putting in the chat window. And answers are coming into the polls, so we'll give you another second to answer those.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. All right, and it looks like a lot of you are new to our interactives, so this is a great time for us to tell you all about them. Okay, so let's move on and discuss interactives. In this first section of the webinar, I'll discuss CK-12's newest books, Interactive FlexBooks 2.0. Next, we'll talk about PLIX interactives and PLIX Corner. So our goal is to get you ready to try interactives in your class this week. CK-12 recently released interactive FlexBooks 2.0, which are filled with interactives. This is a section from the Algebra 2 book. Students can read through the text, look at pictures, and manipulate graphs, figures, tables, and equations without having to leave the book. The books even have full-screen interactives like PLIX and simulations. In this book, the interactives are designed to be an integral part of the lesson, not just supplementary. This is cutting-edge online textbook technology. Interactive FlexBooks are online textbooks that are populated with digital manipulatives and PLIX interactives, which we'll go into in depth later in this webinar. We currently have Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and Physics interactive books up on the site. Each curriculum is rigorous, and the math books are fully aligned with the Common Core state standards. Like everything at CK-12, the books are free. To find the books, just click Try It Now in the FlexBooks 2.0 banner on the CK-12 homepage. The link takes you to a web page with this URL. The functionality of the interactives are tightly integrated with each course. For example, this interactive is designed for a lesson on comparing function types: linear, exponential, quadratic, and rational. Each interactive comes with a set of instructions to guide users. The lessons in the interactive FlexBooks are also full of real-world applications and PLIX. PLIX are similar to the embedded interactives that we just looked at, except PLIX can be accessed outside of the textbook. PLIX have more features, and they cover a wide breadth of math and science concepts. You can learn more about the interactive FlexBooks by joining another webinar. Getting started with FlexBooks. It's going to be on Thursday, January 31st at 3 p.m. We also have additional FlexBook sessions recorded in the archived video section of the webinars page, if you'd like to learn more. All right, now let's check out PLIX. So PLIX stands for Play, Learn, Interact, Explore. It's a visual learning modality that allows users to animate ideas in a concept through simple interactions. We have over 1,130 interactives that span both math and science concepts, and they can be filtered by subject, keyword, concept, or standards. Also, PLIX, like everything offered by CK-12, is free to all users. All you have to do is sign into CK-12 to access them. So after you've opened up a PLIX, the first thing you do is read the description on the left. The description explains what the interactive is about and provides directions on how to interact with it. Next, use the interactive by following the prompt in the instructions. In the interactive, you can explore the concept. If you need to start over, there's a refresh button at the bottom that you can use. So after you've used the interactive, click the challenge button below the description. This opens up the challenge questions. The questions often build upon one another to help students reach a deeper understanding of a concept. The final question is a discussion question that you can use for class conversation. This is a great place to think about differentiating learning by having students try the first few questions or work their way through to the higher level thinking and discussion questions. As a side note, don't worry about trying to write down all the teaching strategies we mentioned. A full list was posted earlier in the chat window, and we'll also send it as a follow-up to this webinar. Along the toolbar at the top of a PLIX, you'll see that there's even more features. We'll discuss more of these features as we go. And now let's dive into a PLIX. So this PLIX is about lunar phases. The description of this PLIX includes a prompt on how to interact with it. Notice that it says to drag the red point. Moving the red point changes the phases of the moon in accordance with the labels on the slider. At the top right of this PLIX is an orange button to assign to class. You can assign PLIX to students in a CK-12 class group by clicking on that button. if you want to learn more about assignments, feel free to ask us in the Q&A window. And let's look at another PLIX for a second. Before we explore the PLIX itself, you can see in the top right the options to give feedback and adjust the size of the text by clicking the icons in the upper right corner of the screen. So you'll notice that this PLIX is about rules for dilation. It has the same description, prompt area, the simple interaction, and challenge questions. This PLIX uses two of the most frequently seen question types, multiple choice and select all that apply. If students are struggling with a question, they can often find hints to help answer the questions. Note that if you get an answer wrong, you'll see the option to show the correct answer. Once again, this is a learning, not an assessment tool, so students will be able to get immediate feedback and guidance when they attempt a question. Students can also use the Learn More option to read about the matching concept and gain a better understanding of it. Encouraging students who are struggling to access these resources is another great way to personalize and support student learning. So now that you've seen two PLIX, you may be wondering where you can get your hands on them. You can access our PLIX through the website on any computer or tablet with a screen size of 9 inches or larger. Also, when accessed through FlexBooks 2.0, PLIX can be used on phones. You can also use the search bar to find content and modalities, including PLIX, or you could open PLIX from within any concept. You can access PLIX through the circular PLIX icon on the homepage. Alternatively, you can jump directly to the PLIX browse page using www.ck12.org/PLIX. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so once you're on the browse page, you have a few options. Remember to sign in if you haven't, and then you can choose your branches. This will help filter your PLIX according to areas you're teaching. If you've done this and you want to update those branches, you can always click on Change Branches. In addition to searching on the main site, you can search within the PLIX browse page. Here you can search for a title, concept, or even CCSS or NGSS standard. You can find PLIX in all branches of math and science. To achieve this depth of coverage, we've developed some really diverse PLIX. Some PLIX are exploratory based, while others check for student understanding. Some PLIX are abstract, and others are based in the real world. Let's dive into a few examples. You can share your idea for a PLIX with the Interactives team by clicking the link above the search bar. All right, so these exploration-based PLIX are sandboxes in which a student can play around and experiment with an idea. In the distance between 2 points, taxicab distance PLIX, students explore 2 different ways to find distance between 2 locations. In the Ohm's Law PLIX, students explore how Ohm's Law affects the current in a circuit. A great teaching strategy would be to have students explore PLIX and then share their different experiences and what they learned with each other. In some PLIX, like these, students can get feedback to check their understanding of a concept. The structure of water PLIX allows students to rotate water molecules to form hydrogen bonds. In the law of cosines PLIX, students find the missing side lengths of triangles using law of cosines. These PLIX could be used as a review of a concept, so students could see how well they understand a concept before an assessment. In many PLIX, students can manipulate graphs, diagrams, or variables. In this sine and cosine PLIX, students can explore how the values of trig functions relate to a given angle. In the refraction band gap PLIX, users change the band gap of a substance to see if a photon can fit through it. As a lesson, you could have students screenshot a few different states for a graph or a set of variables and explain what changed and how the change affected the graph or situation. Some PLIX use real-world context to teach math and science concepts. In the Rainforest Map PLIX, students can locate villages on a map using a scale. In the Rate of Dissolving Sugar PLIX, students observe what happens to a sugar cube in tea as the temperature changes. For these real-world PLIX, try having students brainstorm other applications of a particular concept, or even design their own PLIX to address a concept. As you've seen throughout these PLIX, there are a number of different ways to have students work with and use PLIX. In class, as a warm-up, as enrichment, as a remedial activity, or to explore a concept. At home, as a homework assignment, or students can post answers to PLIX questions on CK-12. To differentiate instruction using challenge questions, learn more, and explorations. Or also to foster conversation. The last question of each PLIX is a discussion question, and some lead to PLIX Corner. Okay, so I've mentioned PLIX Corner a couple of times now, so let's talk about what it is and how to find it. The CK-12 Cafe is a place where you can ask, help, and share with other users. Just click the link to Cafe at the top of the CK-12 homepage to get there. We're going to enter PLIX Corner, where users answer intriguing PLIX discussion questions. Here's a great example of a recent discussion in the PLIX Corner. The PLIX Science Question of the Week was from the Temperature and Temperature Scales PLIX. You can assign the PLIX featured in a PLIX Corner post and have your students join this conversation and discuss their ideas with classmates and students around the world. One of the standards of mathematical practice is construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. The PLIX Corner is a great place for students to discuss their reasoning about a topic. Each week, CK-12 features one math PLIX and one science PLIX to ask questions of the week. We've been noticing more and more classes leaving answers to PLIX questions en masse, sometimes with notes of encouragement from their teacher. If you'd like to see a specific PLIX featured that you want your students to respond to in PLIX Corner, let us know. On the next slide, I'll let you know how to get in touch with us. All right, I'd like to challenge you to get involved. Check out PLIX and the interactive FlexBooks 2.0. Share interactives that you love with your students and other teachers. Tell us at CK-12 what you think by reaching out to us at Facebook, Twitter, or share your ideas for a PLIX. Give it a shot. Also, have fun exploring our new interactives. All right, so I've told you a lot about PLIX, and now it's your turn to find a PLIX that you could use in your classroom. Press Escape to escape from the Zoom window. You can open up your internet browser and go to ck12.org. For those of you who are staying on the Zoom window, you can watch me find PLIX on the CK-12 site. All right, so here we are at the CK-12 homepage. It's time for your first challenge. Navigate from the CK-12 homepage to the PLIX browse page. So you just scroll on down until you get to this nice circle icon. If it's your first time on the PLIX browse page, or if you're not signed in to CK-12, you'll be prompted with a tutorial on how to use PLIX. Okay, now let's go back to the CK-12 homepage. So that's ck12.org. And try to find the interactive FlexBooks. Now, this one's a little easier because we have the button right here, right at the top of the page. FlexBooks 2.0, try it now. And so you can scroll down this page and explore more about what FlexBooks 2.0 is, or you could just press Get Started at the top again, and take you right into the books themselves. All right, great. So with that, this might be a good time to stop and see what questions we have coming in about PLIX and the interactive FlexBooks. Before we move on to the second half of this webinar where Sonia discusses simulations. So please join us back in your Zoom window to participate in the chat and Q&A.
Well, Katie, so far we're pretty light on questions in the Q&A. So just a reminder to all of you as you've been jumping onto this webinar of there is a Q&A window where you can post any questions you have. Again, now is a great time if you've got a burning question that you want to ask Katie. She can demo on the site if you wanted to see something specific. Type it in the Q&A window. We had people introducing themselves. Again, select all panelists and attendees. And that's great. So we just had a question come in. What is the estimated time for students to do a PLIX?
PLIX are pretty quick. I would give it about 5 minutes because the interactives are very simple. The questions are, there's only usually about 5 questions. The last one is, like I said, a discussion question. Those ones can go longer if you really engage your class in a full discussion. But if it's just one person doing a PLIX by themselves, I would probably give about 5 minutes.
Okay, and then we're getting questions. I think people are really excited about our new FlexBooks 2.0 books. I don't know, Sonia, I don't know if you can shed any light on this one as a science expert, but for folks who are looking for more interactivity in our science books, this question is specifically about chemistry. What do we know about a timeline for that?
So right now that FlexBook 2.0 chemistry book is available on the site, and I'll actually kind of cover again how to get to it. But you can check out the FlexBook Chemistry 2.0, and we are currently working on embedding interactives into those reads, and the interactives are also linked as related modalities for each reading. So that's live and available for you to kind of check out at this time.
Okay, thanks for that. See if any more questions come in here. Or again, you just heard from Sonia, who I haven't officially introduced yet, but she's going to be guiding you through the next section on simulations. So if no more questions are coming in, then why don't we say goodbye to you, Katie, for a little bit here, and then I'm going to steal the screen back, and let's start talking about simulations here. So give me just 1 second. And I think we should be in business here. Simulations, I'll hand it off to you, Sonia.
Okay, well, I just want to say Happy New Year to everyone, and thank you for being here this afternoon. It's a great way to start off maybe your second semester, definitely the new year, and I hope you find a tool here today that you can kind of bring into your classroom and get excited about and get your students excited about. So with that, I just want to introduce myself. As Lindsay said, my name is Sonia, and I'm going to show you our CK-12 interactive simulations today, which we lovingly refer to as Sims. And this collection really is a groundbreaking new type of digital learning tool, unlike anything else out there. And why I think they're so special is our collection of simulations work to overlay the scientific and mathematical principles onto a real-world setting. That really was our goal in their development. These Sims support inquiry-based learning, and they promote students to connect the often abstract STEM concepts with their everyday applications. So just to kind of highlight a few differences from the PLIX interactives that Katie just introduced, our simulations are more of a portal. So they really pull students into a real-world setting. There's multiple ways to interact, and they work to connect many concepts together. So kind of how Katie answered the question, where PLIX can be used as a warm-up or just like a quick 5-10 minute activity, the simulations really can be used in a variety of ways and fulfill an entire class period or be a homework assignment, warm-up, etc. And I'll share a lot of those ideas with you. But like the PLIX and all other resources on CK-12, they are all free. So you simply have to sign in to access multiple Sims, or you can download the free app to your tablet device, and I'll talk more about that. So in this part of the webinar, it's about 30 minutes. I'm going to show you how to navigate to the Sims Browse page and help familiarize you with the general structure of the Sims. And I'm also going to highlight the many embedded Sim features and resources. I'll then share some ideas I have for using the Sims as an instructional tool in class or at home to differentiate instruction and to dispel some common science misconceptions. I'm also excited to discuss the newly released FlexBook 2.0 platform, as Katie kind of highlighted, and I'm going to show you the beautifully embedded Sims in our interactive physics for high school FlexBook. And then I'm going to share a quick way that you can actually embed our Sims. So my main goal, like Katie's, is that by the end of this webinar, you feel excited and equipped to use the CK-12 simulations in your class. And kind of just one challenge that I offer you is pick one Sim by the end of this webinar, experiment with it, and even try to use it in class sometime this week. So I always like to share this picture in our webinars because I actually used to be a classroom teacher. I love teaching, and this is a picture taken of a whiteboard in my physics class a few years ago. Now, just to give you some context, I spent like my entire lunch period trying to draw this image for my students to relate the law of reflection with what they see in a mirror. So thankfully, CK-12 has provided a much more compelling learning tool, and us teachers out there now have time to eat our lunch, right? So here on the next slide is what we refer to as the prom night sim. It's really a result of the beautiful collaboration between science teachers, animators, and software developers at CK-12. So the prom night sim begins with an intriguing question. And then if we press play, it's going to advance through kind of an introductory video that explains the basic concepts and poses further questions to get students to think about the underlying physics behind a real-world scenario. So in this case, this fine-looking gentleman is getting ready for the prom and looking in the mirror. And I have recorded this kind of in a fast-forward mode, so it goes a little slower like that in the actual sim launches. So then if we go to sim, I refer to the next scene as like the sandbox because it's really meant for users to play around and just discover new things. So it's an interactive environment, and you'll find sliders for physical variables and graphs, or in this case, responsive animations that really illustrate the relationship between these variables. Next, there's 3 questions that can be answered by adjusting the sliders in a certain way. So we call them slider-based questions. And then each simulation ends with a set of real-world examples that invites the student to think about applications of the underlying concepts in different physical situations to promote continued learning. So hopefully after just seeing this really quick sneak peek of a sim, you're excited to see more because I'm going to show you a lot more. So first and foremost, just how to access the Sims. There's a variety of ways of how we direct you to the Sims, but probably the easiest way, and similar to how Katie showed, is just clicking on that little circle icon at the bottom of the home page. I'm also going to share just this quick link at the top, www.ck12.org/sims. So if you have a class website or you want to put this up on the whiteboard in your classroom or ping it to your colleagues or students, this link provides a simple shortcut for you. Now, I just want to kind of show you this video. This is kind of our Sims Browse page, and really we have a large collection, over 120 Sims. Here you can see trucks and robots and pirates and elevators, airplanes, and more. So they're all real-world settings that are really hard to replicate in the classroom. Now, our collection of Sims are currently divided into 2 branches. So formally, we tag them as physics or chemistry. And right here, you are looking at the physics tab. So the first row features 3 of my favorite sims for topics commonly taught in a physics classroom during the second semester, so this time of year. On the far left, we have the flashlight sim, and it prompts students to explore how electricity flows through a simple circuit. In the middle, there's a violin sim that allows students to learn about sound waves and harmonics by playing around with this virtual stringed instrument. And then on the far right is the diamond cut sim, which allows students to visualize the reflection and refraction of light in different materials and poses the opening question, why do diamonds sparkle? So although these sims are formally labeled physics, I know we have a variety of teachers listening today. I just want to let you know that their topical coverage is broad, and we really do have sims that relate to concepts regarding physical science, earth science, astronomy, and math. So even if you're not specifically a physics teacher or a chemistry teacher, I encourage you to visit the Sims Browse page, and I'm really confident you'll find something that you can use for your course and level. So just to be sure to convince you out there, I want to highlight just a few sims that could even be used to teach some important math concepts. So the portrait gallery sim is another sim that can be used to teach vector addition and important concepts related to trigonometry. So basically, you're using trig to figure out what string angles will hang the portrait of a famous scientist correctly. And then the water fountain and archery sims have to do with projectile motion and involve parametric equations. They're really fun. In the archery sim, you actually have to change the variable so she hits the target and the arrow. And then the stadium wave sim can be used for a more complicated sinusoid problem. So you have an audience at a sports arena kind of doing the wave. So like I said earlier, although these sims are just labeled physics or chemistry, there really are many that can be used to highlight the real-world applications connected to a variety of STEM concepts. All right, so going back to the Sims Browse page, now I've clicked on that chemistry simulations tab you can see highlighted with the yellow box. And this tab gives you access to 19 chemistry sims. Now they're still in the beta stage of development, so you'll begin to see the full structure that you can kind of get used to in the physics sims. These chemistry simulations all provide the microscopic explanations for macroscopic observations of the world around us. And I know all you chemistry teachers out there are smiling because that's like the ultimate goal of your classroom, to have students see the microscopic view of the world around them. The first 3 you're looking at here are, on the left, the going fishing sim. So students can use this sim to explore what makes objects float or sink. So let's say the concept of density, which is really taught at many levels in a science classroom. This is a great sim for that. The airbag sim in the middle allows students to investigate the chemical reactions that cause an airbag to inflate. And then on the far right, hot pack, cold pack provides a great everyday model for students to associate with exothermic and endothermic reactions. So I hope you'll explore and experiment with using these sims in your classroom, and then please provide us with your feedback. There's actually a link within each sim that says feedback, and because these are still in the early stage of development, we really read these weekly. I personally do, and I'm really interested in what you think and how it goes. So another exciting announcement is that we do offer a free CK-12 physics simulation app for your iOS and Android tablet devices. So I just want to be sure it's just the tablet devices, so the iPads and so forth. By clicking on either of those 2 icons on the main Sim Browse page that are highlighted with the yellow box, you and your students can easily download the app for free at the App Store or Google Play Store today. Again, just for tablet devices, and this simply is because all of our sims, whether accessed online or through the app, they require a 9-inch screen or larger to view. And that just is because there's a lot going on. You'll see as I start demoing some of these sims, there's a lot of sliders, a lot of graphs, and for students to really make sense of all this, they need that larger screen, so 9-inch screen or larger. The exciting thing about the app is that it allows you and your students to download individual sims to your tablet devices for offline use. So I hope some of you are smiling out there because that's such a big deal. So just say goodbye to wasting precious class time, because I know I did. Loading software, guiding students through multiple clicks to access a simulation, right? I've lost so much class time, 20 minutes just to get them to the sim. All of our CK-12 sims are HTML5 based and can be launched on the website or via the app with just one click. So just imagine this. A simple homework assignment involves asking your students to download a particular sim to their tablet devices so that when prompted in class, they can all launch the sim quickly and easily without any threat of Wi-Fi or loading issues interrupting your very important lesson. The CK-12 team, really, we've worked so hard to ensure that you never lose a learning moment in your classroom. So I'll hope that you'll, after the webinar, download the app and explore. So getting back to kind of the browse page, there's many ways to use the browse page to find a particular sim for your class. So easy as you could just scroll down. As you can see highlighted there, you can type in keywords to the search bar, or you can sift through the filters. So you can filter our sims by concept or NGSS standards. And these concepts and standards are also listed under each simulation. And I also just want to mention that for any of you NGSS teachers out there, I think you'll find that our simulations really work nicely with an NGSS curriculum because they're all real world based. So be sure to use that filter for the NGSS standards. So here we are on the worksheet. So in addition, there's a worksheet link under each sim. So here you can see on the bottom, I've highlighted the worksheet link. Now just be sure when you click on that, you're going to click on the little arrow, specifically the arrow icon. And then what's going to happen is that a worksheet version of the sim is going to pop up that you can easily download as a PDF. And there's also a way to access the worksheet from within the sim that I'm going to show you later. So here's like if I clicked on the violin worksheet arrow, this is what would pop up. So there are a variety of ways in which these worksheets can be used. I think it's just most important to note that all of the embedded features and content in the sims are accessible in worksheet format here. So if internet is a really big issue at your school, or you would like a handout that will help guide students in using the sims, or simply if your students respond better to just like turning something in at the end of class, I know my students did, these worksheet resources are currently available for all of our physics sims, and the chem sim worksheets will be coming down the road. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about the sim structure. Here are some images of the 4 main windows in our ramp and piano sim. And this sim is about force, distance, and work, and how this relationship can be manipulated with the ramp. I used to begin my physics curriculum with investigating simple machines, and I think this is a great sim to introduce students to important concepts related to physics. One of the most unique things about our simulations is this consistent structure. So all of our 120 sims, they'll start with an introductory video, then they'll move into that interactive sandbox environment, followed by some slider-based questions, and then they'll end with other related real-world examples. So I think you'll find that after using 1 or 2 sims in your class with your students, they really will no longer have to focus their attention on how to use the digital tool, where to click, so on and so forth. They'll just be able to focus on learning the concepts, which is much more important in my personal view. So moving on to that first kind of opening introductory video, this is the hot oven sim, and it enables students to explore the difference between heat, temperature, and thermal energy. So like all sim intro videos, the font size can be changed. So you can see the little A's on the drop down top right. You can play or pause this video at any time. So there's like a little play button in the middle bottom of the screen. And for repeat users of this sim, this can be skipped. That's on the bottom left. So here's just some ideas for you on how I could envision using this introductory video. I might project this question on the screen in my classroom, and as students kind of come in, the bell rings, I would prompt them to complete a quick write as a warm-up activity. So I'm going to ask students, all right, the bell's rung, put your pen to paper. I'm going to time you 3 minutes, write whatever comes to mind in response to this question. What is the difference between temperature and heat? And then I would press play through the introductory video and walk students through kind of the concepts in a discussion format. All right. So this next scene is what we've been referring to as the interactive sandbox environment of the cliff diver sim. So it allows students to explore the acceleration due to gravity, and it has a position time graph and velocity time graph, which I know are very crucial in many physical science and physics classes, and also can be used in math classes because it's just linear plots. In every interactive sandbox, you'll almost always see, one or two graphs, as you do here, representing the situation, as well as sliders that allow you to manipulate the basic parameters, as well as a play button. So this is kind of what you'll see in all the interactive environments. Now, each slider has an information tag. So that little I there that's circled can be activated to learn more. So here, the slider determines the height of the cliff and the amount of time the diver spends falling. So now I know a little bit more about what that slider manipulates. The graphs have many features activated by the gear symbol. So as you can see, I've circled that little gear symbol by the graph. It can help you get info about the graph, zoom in to see the graph more clearly, hide the graphs, or compare two trials by clicking on Enable Last Run. So here we have those options: info, zoom, hide graph, enable last run. So here's some ideas I have with regards to teaching strategies. I really think it would be a great exercise to project this sandbox on a screen in class. And then I would basically hide the graphs and I would adjust the sliders a certain way. And maybe I would put students working in pairs or groups of 4 with a whiteboard. And I would ask them to predict what the graphs would look like. And then I press play, drop the graphs down, and reveal kind of the results, and then have a discussion on what their predictions were and if they were accurate or not and why. So I hope you try that one out. It's a fun one. Okay, so the information bar at the top of every sandbox can be used to differentiate instruction for your students. So here, for students who are stuck or need more help, there's a tab labeled Tutorial. And this opens to a 3-minute YouTube video screencast that carefully details how the simulation works, made by yours truly. So I hope you check those out. In addition, there's always a link available to the concepts that highlight the relevant material in the CK-12 website. And then for students who are up for a challenge, the Challenge Me questions provide a few related deep thinking, open-ended questions. So I just really want to highlight here that in this one interactive environment, students who are struggling, they're supported. They have the tutorial and links to the concepts. And students who are ready to move on are being challenged. And all students are prompted to be curious and have fun. So here is a snapshot of what I've been calling the slider-based questions. So this is the Sprinter sim, and this sim allows students to explore friction by investigating why sprinters wear spiked shoes for running. You receive immediate feedback on your submission, and there is a way to create new slider-based questions. So you, as the instructor, can tailor the sim to your specific course or level. I could envision prompting students to answer the slider-based questions in pairs during class. I could also see the completion of slider-based questions as a great homework assignment because they are included in the sim worksheet, and there's space below each question to provide room for students to record their answers and reasoning. So kind of the last section of the sims are those real-world examples, and this is a snapshot of the real-world examples at the end of the Gone Fishing chemistry sim about density and floating that I mentioned earlier. I think it would be fun to prompt students to do further research on one of these examples for homework and share their findings with their classmates the next class period. You can also customize the simulations by adding more real-world examples so that the little plus button will let you do that. So an idea would be to prompt students to create their own real-world example and upload it here, adding to our bank of community contributed content. And I actually introduced this idea during a previous webinar, I think it was in October. I'm excited to announce that a few teachers did this. So if you click on the community contributed content of this Gone Fishing sim, you'll see that there are now over 25 examples that seem to be student generated. And I think students just get a thrill out of seeing their work displayed like this. I know my students always worked harder when it was viewed by not just me, but let's say the whole world right on the internet. I hope you will try it out in the upcoming weeks and let us know. Now this chart, I always share it, and all the science teachers, I get a lot of great response. So we are gonna share a link to a PDF. So no need to take screenshots or anything. We'll get you that link. But this chart highlights some of the most common science misconceptions and a related sim we hope you can use to dispel it. Because I know that's really the hard work of a science teacher, is dispelling those deep-rooted misconceptions. There are some great ones here, right? Particles of solid have no motion. We have this beautiful sim that portrays the Golden Gate Bridge, and it allows you to kind of zoom in and see the molecules of the Golden Gate Bridge jiggle, and you adjust the temperature and see kind of the kinetic energy and the motion of the molecules increase. And then mass and weight are the same thing, right? Oh, that one gets me every year. You know, I work really hard to dispel that one. So the astronaut training chamber sim really shows how the mass on various planets stays the same, but the weight or force due to gravity differs. And I'm actually going to show you this sim. I'll launch it in our interactive physics for high school FlexBook in the next slide. So as Katie mentioned, and she kind of showed you a preview, CK-12 recently released these interactive FlexBooks 2.0, and they're just filled with interactives. So let's take a closer look at the science ones. So here we're on the home page, and you'll see this banner that highlights the new FlexBooks 2.0, and it'll say try it out. So that's what you're going to click on, try it out. Now there's a lot of information here on the new platform, but let's just skip over all that for now and get started. So click on get started. You're going to see the 3 books that kind of Katie reviewed, and then you're going to see 6 science books. So as I mentioned earlier, you'll see that chemistry one there, earth science, life science, physical science, biology. And the only one that has interactive in the title at this time is physics. And that's simply because all the physics lessons, each one has an embedded interactive in it. Now we are working on embedding interactives in the others, but this one, you'll find each reading has an interactive embedded. So I'm just gonna open a lesson. This is kind of what it looks like when you click on a lesson. You'll have other ways to learn, and then kind of a start button. If I click on start, I'm launched into this cool picture of astronauts, you know, in weightlessness and some reading. And then there you see there's a little blurb kind of to get me interested into launching the sim. So try to use the graph to derive the strength of the gravitational field on the moon, Mars, and even Saturn's moon, Dione. I can click launch, and it opens into that astronaut training chamber sim. I can access the worksheet, play that introductory video. I can go into that interactive environment, adjust those sliders, press play, see illustrative animations, and then the graph. And I can actually use that graph to derive the gravitational constant on Earth, which is so cool, 9.81. Now, when I escape, this is the best part. I am right back in my reading, right where I left off. So that is so cool. And then I have, there's my guy, Derek Mueller from Veritasium, one of his videos on the difference between mass and weight. So just some really good content here. And another big piece of the FlexBook 2.0 that I want to highlight is if you click on related content, we've gone through and really picked the best sim, the best PLIX. There's a real world application there, the weight of gold, a study guide, a little tutorial video, even a TED Ed video. Would you weigh less in an elevator? So we have a lot of modalities there that relate nicely to what students experience in the reading. So I think I heard some wows out there. Yes, a wow, this is super awesome. And I could imagine, you know, opening the reading as a warm-up, engaging with the sim as a class, and then I would ask students to pick a related modality of their choice for homework and write a paragraph describing what they learned. So I hope for all of you physics teachers out there, you'll check it out. And for, again, any of you science teachers, check out the FlexBooks 2.0. They all have these related modalities. And there's also future webinars on the FlexBook 2.0 platform. So be sure to attend those as well to learn more. So as you saw, the sims now can be embedded directly in the read, but the cool part is we've given you the ability to do that as well. So let's say you're using a FlexBook currently that you like, and you don't want to, necessarily change the 2.0 platform. You can embed the sims into your FlexBook. So by clicking on the 3 dots on the top right corner of every sim, you'll see an embed option. So right there, I have it highlighted, embed. And what that will do, if you click on that, it'll just open to an embed code that you can copy, very similar to what you do with like a YouTube video. And you can easily copy and paste that embed code into your digital resource. Another thing I'll just kind of end with, something exciting, is that we've had a lot of physics teachers volunteer around the world to help us translate our sims. So right now they're available in Korean, German, Chinese, most recently Greek. We're going to release Polish sims in the next few weeks. So these newly translated sims are live on our site, and there's also a Help Us Translate link that you can use to provide us with your contact info if you're willing to help us. I'd be just so grateful for any help you could offer, because these translations are really central in helping us achieve our mission of providing free, high-quality resources to every student around the world. So if you're interested in partnering with us, click on that Help Us Translate button. So that is going to conclude the Sims part of our webinar. And this is just kind of like a quick review of everything we just covered. And it's also included in that resource page we're going to give you a link to. So I hope you'll sign up and sign in and download that free app and just explore and experiment with using these Sims in your class, even this week. Who knows, maybe even tomorrow morning in class. Because as you know, because you guys are all awesome, amazing teachers, there's really no better way to learn than just to jump in and try it out. So I'll turn the mic back over to Lindsay and just thank you guys.
Sonia, I think one thing people are excited about are the embed codes.
Cool.
And we've got a couple of questions in Q&A related to that. So one question is that can the embed codes be embedded in LMSs or using an iframe? So go ahead and tackle that one first.
I believe my experience right now, I mean, like I said, these were recently released, but anywhere that embed codes work, this should work. And so I'm going to say yes to that. So if you can embed other things, this works very similar to like wherever you can embed a YouTube video or other things, it should work.
Okay, and earlier you talked about downloading the sims, and so somebody was saying, can we download these and insert these simulations in other programs like a PowerPoint or a Keynote presentation? Is it meant for that type of functionality?
Oh, that's a good question. So at this moment, the download option is only available through our app. And so what it does is when you open the physics simulations app, you'll see a browse page very similar to our browse page, but on the top right corner, there's just going to be a little download icon, and it'll download it to your device. And then once you've downloaded it, there'll be like a little trash icon. So if you want to undo that and kind of free up space on your device, you just kind of click that. So right now, it's only available through the app, and then the embed code would be available in places where embedding is an option. So that would be kind of the parameters there. As far as a PowerPoint and stuff, at this point, you would have to launch it from the website, I would recommend.
Okay, somebody's asking how we can save PLIX and Sims to our account and find and use later. What are some best practices for keeping track of these resources?
Good question. So my understanding, KDH or KDS might be able to add on my answer, but right now, I believe when you do launch a sim in your dashboard, it kind of tracks the your recently used sims and PLIX. And then I don't know if KDS, if you have any other ways.
There's also a way, if there's 3 horizontal dots in the top toolbar for more options. And if you click on that, there is an add to library option, and you could always access them from your library.
I can show, on a PLIX, do you want me to show that?
Yeah, I could share.
Okay.
If you guys don't mind, why don't we just pause for a second, because we're approaching the hour mark, and we still have a couple questions in Q&A, and I want to give everybody a chance to type in any other final questions. But to let our users who need to go disappear here, let me just do a little bit of wrap up information, and then Katie and Sonia will stay on and demonstrate anything that you guys want to see.
Perfect.
So this is a page that I believe was referenced earlier, ck12.org/tools and apps. This is where you can find information about downloading the app for our simulations. You might also want to visit this page to see information about a list of a lot of other learning management systems that we integrate with. I know there's some chat going on right now in the community chat about learning management systems. So this is a good resource page to get you started with that. Another page that I want to let you know about is our CK-12 overview page. As you've seen throughout this presentation, PLIX and Sims are just a few of our resources. And if you'd like to see an overview of all of our resources, you can go to ck12.org/overview, and you'll find out some additional information about our FlexBooks, our adaptive practice, learning management systems, and our cafe. So just a reminder, that cafe that was mentioned, it's a great way to continue the conversation and to network with other users, or even get support from the CK-12 team. So from our homepage, you can click on cafe to see our various forums for both students and educators. I'd recommend that all of you educators joining us today join our Jumpstart for Educators Cafe. And keep checking back as we add more state-specific forms, or actually today we just added a form for Canada. So if there are any Canadians on today, we've got a form especially for you as of a few hours ago. Upcoming webinars, we've got a couple more coming up in January. We have on Thursday, January 24th at 3:00 p.m. an LMS breakout webinar. These webinars are a little bit shorter, probably 30 minutes, sometimes go as long as like 35 or 40 minutes. But if you are a Google Classroom user and you want to know how to easily create assignments through Google Classroom, join us for that webinar. And then we have one on getting started with FlexBooks. If you're intrigued about this FlexBook idea, January 31st, 3:00 p.m. That is your first kind of get your feet wet, learn more about FlexBooks in our new FlexBook 2.0 platform. Also, just a reminder, this tinyurl.com, CK-12 PLIX Sims. This will get you a resource page that will kind of review a lot of what Sonia and Katie had to share with you today. Also want to mention to you, you guys may have heard of our Certified Educator program. Maybe that's what's brought you to this webinar today. Each summer, we run an intensive professional development program for educators who are looking to become CK-12 certified. And to do that, one of the basic requirements is to attend a series of 5 or more live webinars and to watch 2 on demand and then complete some matching assignments. We're trying to help people kind of get certified during the school year or get a head start on this summer's program. So if you've joined us today and you're interested in learning more about our program, you can go to ck12.org/certified, and there's some information there. There's a form you can fill out on that site, or you can also email jumpstart@ck12.org, and we'll make sure we get you the information. But probably in about a month or so, we're going to be launching a registration page. So if you are signed up for CK-12 emails, you'll be learning more about this summer's program coming up in July. One last thing, we do love getting feedback on these webinars. So if you have a minute and want to give us some feedback, what went well, what we could do better, fill out this form. We read every word that you write, and it really helps us in planning. So thanks again. Here's the email address one more time that you can access. And you can also find us on social media. So we're at the hour mark. If you need to head off, head off. Otherwise, we're going to get back to the Q&A window, and we can do any demonstration of anything that you guys would like. So just stay on and populate those questions if you have them. So it looks like one kind of lingering question, Sonia, about simulations. Are these simulations very attractive for students in upper grades 10 to 12, especially in biology?
Okay, that's a great question. Yeah, I would say that really is our target audience, that the simulations, you can find ways, and it can be used, let's say, in a middle school or college, even classroom, but the target audience was kind of that sophomore, junior level science course, chemistry, and then physics. And as far as biology, we don't offer specific biology sims. We do have a really nice collection of biology PLIX. But yes, I think that you'll find that that's kind of the target audience.
Okay, well, we wait to see if there are more questions coming into our window. I know I kind of cut somebody off with it. Were you going to show
I can
something
show
on the screen?
Or Katie, if you want to, sure.
Yeah, sure. I can jump on and share PLIX with the buttons that I was talking about.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Up here, we've got a little menu. You just click on these 3 horizontal dots, and then we have an add to library option. So you just select that, and it adds the PLIX into your library. Ta-da!
Perfect. So that's for the users who are asking about the easiest way to kind of collect them or to bookmark them. Also, everything on our site, whether it's a PLIX or a sim or a read or a video, they all have unique URLs. So you can always copy and paste the URLs, put it in a learning management system, on a website, and in your bookmarks, whatever you want to do, just collect those URLs for handy reference too. Okay, we have a question. If I assign Sims or FlexBook 2.0 to my students and upload it on Google Classroom, do I need to create a separate account for students on CK-12? Also, will scores be saved on Google Classroom or just on CK-12? I'll take this one. If you are using Google Classroom, and that's what you're using in your class, and that's what you're used to, do not create classes on CK-12. You don't need to. In fact, it will kind of interfere a little bit with what you're trying to do in Google Classroom. Assign your modalities through Google Classroom, and you'll be able to review reports just like you would on CK-12, showing student progress. So yes, it will integrate with your scores back into Google Classroom, but you don't need to have both going on, just one. Use Google Classroom. And like I said, we do have a webinar coming up just on Google Classroom, or if you guys go to ck12.org/webinars, possibly where you signed up for this one, we have archived webinars. So if you wanted to just see, a few minutes about that Google Classroom integration, we have a video on that. Okay, looking to see if there are some more questions. When is the Google Classroom webinar? Katie, since you're sharing, do you just want to go to ck12.org/webinars? And we'll show you what's coming up. So the featured one is what we're in right now. And if you scroll down, the next one is that LMS breakout session. on CK-12 and Google Classroom. So it's on January 24th. And then the Getting Started with FlexBooks one is on January 31st. And probably in the next week or so, we'll have February's webinars posted as well. We'll see if there's any final questions here. You guys are so nice. Thank you for typing your thank you message. It's been our pleasure. We're really glad that you guys have joined us today. If there aren't any additional, oh, here we go. Once certified, are you always certified? If you go through the CK-12 certification program, your certificate will be dated and it's valid for 2 years. After the 2 years, we do ask that you kind of get the renewal, the additional credentialing. So we're going to actually run into that this summer for the first time, that we've had 2 years of the Certified Educator Program. And so we're asking that our 2017 certified educators do a few additional things, mainly to make sure that they're up to date on all the improvements we've made on our site, including our FlexBooks 2.0. So we'll be emailing all of those folks whose credentials are kind of getting ready to expire, I guess, and making sure that they stay current by participating in some future activities. Okay. All right. Well, again, I'm going to thank you all for joining us today, and we are going to go ahead and sign off, and we hope to see you in a future webinar. Thank you very much.